Now, for years, Exxon Mobil has funded efforts to stop action on climate change. Now, for years, they claimed that the science, oh, it's not settled, man. Burning fossil fuels, look, it might actually be good for the planet. You don't know. All the extra carbon in the atmosphere, it will lead to global greening or some shit, okay? Now, those of us who pay attention and actually follow the real science, well, we know that their argument is absolutely preposterous. And it's actually nothing more than an attempt to save their profit margins, especially after their own scientists realized, and they did the studies, realized that, oops, turns out fossil fuels are driving climate change. Our actions are driving climate change. And now there's a new study out now that confirms that Exxon Mobil, they've known for a very, very long time that carbon, that you know, their burning fossil fuels was contributing to climate change, and yet they did nothing. Now, the findings come from a pair of Harvard University researchers, which add to charges from environmentalists, Democratic attorneys general, and others that Exxon knew decades ago that its fossil fuels harm the planet, but decided, in the interests of making money, to sow doubt about the science to the public and their investors. So, now this peer-reviewed study, published in Environmental Research Letters, relies heavily on what they call textual context analysis. Now, what that is, basically, is that it's a process meant to systematically read texts for patterns or other wide-ranging findings. So, they use this method, and they look for the patterns, and they found some. And they conclude from finding these patterns that Exxon Mobil had misled the public. Now, I'll get into the details of that in a few moments, but basically their conclusion is that the question is whether or not Exxon Mobil suppressed climate change research, but rather how they communicated about it. Now, the authors, Jeffrey Supran and Naomi Oreskes, specialized in scientific inquiry. Now, Oreskes is an outspoken critic of climate change, skeptics, and others who disagree with the scientific consensus. Now, the study analyzed Exxon's internal statements from 1977 through 2014, and they found, using that contextual or that content analysis, found that the widest gulf between Exxon's public and private communications was between paid advertorials the companies wrote and all other documents studied. So they took the advertorials and they compared it to the internal documents from the company, the stuff that the public and the investors were not allowed to see. And they found that 83% of its peer-reviewed papers and 80% of internal documents acknowledged humans' role in climate change. Only 12% of its advertorials did, and 81% of them expressed doubt in climate change. That's very interesting. That's an enormous difference. It's flipped between the internal and external documents. Now, this right here is a great example of the problem of our current system. If Exxon Mobil is willing to lie about climate change for so long, what else were they willing to do in order to keep their profit margins? Now, we know already that they bought politicians. You can easily look that up, okay? How much money did did Exxon Mobil give to such and such politician? We could already see that, okay? Now, we also know that they funded think tanks to put out junk studies on climate change. They also have paid hack scientists to go out and lie about the science. You know, they pay for scientists to go on TV and be like, oh, the science is junk. It turns out more carbon is wonderful for the planet, which is ridiculous. Because we know that there is a certain point, yes, we need carbon. We need a certain amount of carbon in the atmosphere. But if you flood the atmosphere with carbon, you're going to get what's known as a greenhouse effect. You're going to end up having warmer temperatures. And that's, of course, going to cause all sorts of problems. Now, they did this, though, so that they could make an extra dollar, all while knowing that they're putting the planet in jeopardy. Okay? This is grotesque. And look, it's another example of corporate greed. And if you want to call Exxon Mobil evil, I get it, right? But really, it's more representative of the system and what kind of perverse incentives we have in the system. Now, these corporations, they do not have morals. They're there. Their only purpose is to maximize profit for the shareholders. That's their main reason for existing, right? Now, if that ends up meaning that they can lie to the public and their investors in order to do so, well, then that's just good business sense, right? Because in the end, they make a boatload of money in the meantime while getting gullible people to doubt the scientific consensus. I mean, what's more believable, right? That a company's like, yeah, we'll lie about it so we can make more money, or a worldwide conspiracy where scientists conspire with all the other nations on Earth and all these different agencies of all these different governments to get together to raise your taxes. That's ridiculous. There are charts and there are graphs. There's evidence of this. But some people, of course, will not believe it because, again, they've been brainwashed. They've been lied to. And look, it's pretty scary when you think about it, to think that we're having such an impact on the world, what we do, and that actually means changing our lives. That is a difficult concept for some people to grasp, and I understand that, but it has to be done. Something has to change. So, but anyway, and look, because of the efforts of Exxon Mobil and other fossil fuel companies, we now have a political party in America that's now openly hostile to science and scientific consensus, right? That's despite all the evidence that we have. Like, and you can go out and measure this: ocean acidification, coral bleaching, record high temperatures on land, reductions in Arctic sea ice, severe storms, on and on. You can go look. The evidence is out there, okay? Again, there are some people who will refuse to look. And that sucks. But what are you going to do? There are people out there that will never agree. And we have to start thinking about moving on without those people so that we can move forward on actually transforming our energy system into something that is not only sustainable, but renewable as well. And which will benefit all of mankind. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.